to bed at night and you take your leg off, and that's when phantom pains really kick in, because you actually look down at the bedclothes and you see the shape of one leg there, and you actually see the shape, and then it stops.
You're chasing something different than I. No more casting shadows on your every smile.
Hi, my name is Gabe Cronley.
My name is Martin Moran.
Tell us your story and who you are.
I'm an amputee since I was 2 years and 8 months. Lost my left limb, when I was 2 years and 8 months, and almost lost the second one in a farm accident, a reaper and binder, harvest type, drawn by horses. I happened to follow my brother into the land, 2 fields up. He was delivering some water and he was only 6, and I followed him up there. My father put me sitting on a wooden box, and it was a long wooden box, and he continued in a corner of the field, and he continued on. It was horses that time, there were 4 horses, and it was a type of a harvester that threw out the sheaves of oats, and there was workmen there and for other help. We had a workman there and 2 more people at the time. The horses came around to my side of the field, and they hesitated. They stopped 2 and 2, and my father shouted at them to go on again, and they did. But when they did, they took a right and a left, and they caught the toolbox. Now, I was sitting on the toolbox. It was a big wooden toolbox, and the harvester got caught it took the left leg and almost the right one. And of course there was pandemonium then. A little child at 2 years and 8 months, and I was so lucky at that stage, because where I live in Galway, the Corrib River runs out to the Corrib, and we were one side of it. And there happened to be a man there fishing, and he was an orthopedic. And we must remember this was the early 50s. There wasn't many cars on the road at all, and we were within 8 miles of Galway City Hospital. We called him. He immediately looked for their socks and the sleeves of their shirts or jumpers, what they had, and with the twine or little rope that tied the cordon, he made what they call little sugons, little ropes, thicker. He tied each leg above the knee, and then he tied the 2 together, and he handed my left leg, what I had of it, to my father, and the workman carried me down to this man's car. I was taken into hospital. Of course, if we hadn't this doctor at this stage, I wouldn't have made it at 2 years and 8 months. I was 3.5 months in hospital in Galway, and the coming home wasn't very pleasant. There was 3 more siblings at the time. I'm the middle of 8 of us. There was 8 in family, 5 lads and 3 girls. And the welcome home was silence, because my family was warned not to talk about the accident, but look after Martin, watch him where he's going, what he's doing, and everything that can be done for him, do it, but don't ask questions. Now, at that stage, I had a bad right leg, and I was to get a new prosthetic leg, which would be a straight little stump of a leg. Couldn't use it, so my mother decided that she'd carry me in her hip for the next, I suppose, 4 to 5 years. Wasn't easy. She was doing the homework, the farm work, looking after pigs and chickens and everything like that, and rearing a family wasn't easy, and carrying me around was just impossible at times.
When the time is there, you know, you just want to continue on to be as normal as you can. Whatever normal is, I haven't a clue. But whatever you see others doing, you try and do what they did and what you used to do in the past prior to your accident. It's a learning curve that we don't want anybody else having to go through it, but I've spoken to numerous people, and to give them my experience of what it's been like, And I think, you know, when that wall hits in front of you, when you hear amputation or you know, whatever, you just don't know where to turn. And it's to somebody else who's been there and done that, that you learn, you know, the most of it. I, again, you know, had maybe 3 years where I couldn't work and I had to try and volunteer because, you know, when you're left in a situation where you have too much time in your hands, psychologically you're not in a good place, everything is new to you. I ran in the local elections in 2014. I said I'd have a go at it and see how it went, and I got elected. I am, as far as I'm aware, the only above right knee amputee county councillor in Ireland. And there's a lot of people affected by disabilities, be it, you know, young, old, acquired. You just never know what's around the corner when that word will come to your door, disability. The figures are quite frightening. We don't have representation there, and I do try and make as much representation as I can, because to me it's 24/7, 365. I can't turn it off. The same way as I have 3 kids at home, I can't turn off being a father, being a husband, whatever. Disability is part and parcel of it. I think it's made me a stronger person, and it's made my family stronger to appreciate, you know, life in general. There's nothing I can't do. It just takes me a little bit longer to do it. Again, when you go to bed at night and you take your leg off, that's when phantom pains really kick in, because you actually look down at the bedclothes and you see the shape of one leg there, and you actually see the shape, and then it stops. How difficult is it to operate on a daily basis? What supports do you need?
Of course, I need equality and respect from people that know that I have a handicap. But what I really need is not a lot, because there's lots I can do myself that I wouldn't be able to do in olden times. Times gone by. When I needed help, I got help. But I always take a line from you, Gabe, and I like it. I always loved it. Wherever you go and no matter what you do, your handicap comes with you. And you know, when you think about that, that is the strongest word you could give, because sure, you have it. You don't leave it at home when you're going somewhere. You don't leave it at home when you go into the hospital even. You get in there, your handicap is your handicap. And your handicap, and especially with the loss of a limb, the replacement that's there is the best replacement, I suppose, in the world today, when you have a good one and a right one. But you need to be respected for how you walk on that and how you deal with it, how you cope with it.
Again, it's a lifelong condition, you know. Unfortunately, they don't grow back. But you know, it's very hard to, you know, try and function in a society that's created by able-bodied people to tell disabled people how to have disabilities. You know, it can't work and it won't work, and it hasn't worked and it'll never work. But the solution is with the people themselves who have the disability, because they are the expert opinion. You know, if I want help now, you know, and you can go for your clinical, psychological, psychiatrist, you know, whatever else. You can go to your orthopedic surgeon, you can go, you know, to me, you know, a lot of that is cosmetic, and your prosthesis, and a good prosthesis, who I'm very lucky to have, actually listens, you know, instead of they read it off a book and say, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. At the end of the day, I'm the one that's walking around it. And again, if you're not comfortable walking in what you have, well, you're preoccupied and you're prone to making mistakes. It's very hard to concentrate, you know, holding down a job and so forth, if your body's in pain all the time. Your level of concentration tends to wander, or it can, you know, vary a little bit. That, you know, I like to give as close as possible to 100% as I can do. But if I'm sitting in pain, I can't do that. And, you know, again, there are minor things like, you know, when you have a prosthetic leg, all your shoes are actually the same, because the weight of your shoe, if you change a brand of your shoe or something like that, it's a different weight the leg acts different and you're walking around the place like you're chasing your leg. This is stuff that nobody knows about, only somebody who's wearing the prosthetic leg. You go back to equality and so forth. When you've a lifelong disability, it's actually more degenerative than it will ever be progressive, because as we get older, our mobility changes. But if you're compromised in the first place, well, you're going to be more compromised as you age. But the only funding for prosthetics and so forth, or state funding, they're not cheap. You're talking 20,000 euros for a leg. You're supposed to come up with that. If you're not working and you can get funding on a medical card. You know, I'm somebody who's all for individualising a disability, and until that happens, you know, what I need as being, you know, I'm a fairly fit person, and I do try to keep as fit as possible, because for my own mental health and so forth, unless my head is right, my body isn't right. But you know, when you try and get a job and then you lose your medical entitlements, you know, that's shocking. It's a financial penalty that's placed on somebody. You're means tested for something. Now, to me, a prosthetic leg is a necessity. That's not equality. You know, we have to individualise a person's disability to make them as inclusive as possible. And until you're inclusive in society, you know, you just feel like somebody who's left on the sidelines. You feel like a burden for your own self-esteem and so forth. It's not a good place to be. You feel worthless. You know, I can't do this, I can't go there because of accessibility purposes. Again, there's decisions made on our behalf, and assumptions made on our behalf, who the person that's making them doesn't understand the implications.
What is one thing the world needs right now? Oh, it needs equality. It needs respect. We disabled people don't get a whole lot of that. You know, you look at a disabled person, why don't they treat you when you go looking for a job that you can sit and do better than the man that's the ordinary person? Why don't they respect the man just because his prosthetic legs are in under the table? They think that he can't do this on top here with his two hands. It still doesn't happen. If you're going looking for your job, if you're going to be asked to do something that you can do without the use of your legs, sure, he's handicapped. That discrimination is still there. It's still there, and that's what I think. What the world needs today is equality. Why not treat us the same in all aspects of life that we do when we're able to do it?
Well, you'll never have equality when society in general puts a label on you. Disabled, handicapped, you know, whatever they want to call it. Disabled, I see ability. Society sees disability. When you don't consult with the people who are directly affected by decisions that you make, if you don't listen to them, they're part of the solution. They can tell you, you know, they are the expert opinion of what needs to change. But we're being told by people who don't have disabilities, you know, again, you take 13 years at 24/7. That's a hell of a lot of time, you know, if you put that as a 39-hour week that I know about disabilities. But I only know enough about my own disability, and I know enough not to tell somebody else how to have theirs.
You're chasing something different than